This is the Conscious Business Show. We connect the heart, the mind to the wallet. We're here live at the Sustainable Business Network Conference in Boston at Northeastern. Will Krause is our co-host today. Thank you for being here.
Thank you, Darby. It's great to be alongside you.
Well, and sustainability and environmental social governance issues and a CFA to boot, so we're really excited that you're here with us. And also very excited that we have Niaz Dorry, who is Coordinating Director of Northwest Atlantic Marine Alliance out of Gloucester, Mass.
Yep.
Correct? So thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having me.
It's wonderful to hear everyone's stories that we've been here at the conference. Take us through your personal journey.
Okay. My personal journey that brought me to this immediate place is for a long time, I worked for Greenpeace. And I was what we call a toxics campaigner. I worked with communities that couldn't breathe because of pollution or the water was not suitable. They were fighting multinational companies that are essentially putting them at risk for their profits. And always selling jobs as the clincher. You know, we're going to bring you a job, yet they don't tell you that the jobs might kill you and the jobs are temporary and they come at a high cost that are not internalized in their discussions. And so when and at that time at Greenpeace, the toxics campaign used a community organizing approach. We went into the communities at their request often to work with them to strategize. How do you win against this toxic waste incinerator? How do you beat the pulp and paper mill? Or how do you do this in a way that the community is left whole? Because often a lot of those fights come with a lot of internal conflict in the communities, us against them. They want to put you out of work. You know, there's a lot there that you need to unpack. And so by working in the communities, what we discovered is we were much more sensitive to the nuances that most people don't see. People think it's just somebody fighting against something, but there's a lot that happens when you're on the community level, hearing everybody's arguments and pros and cons and trying to come up with a strategy that satisfies the needs. We were getting results through this community-based approach, through community organizing. And the Ocean Campaign thought, what if we approach the fisheries work and the ocean work through a community organizing strategy? And they asked me if I would consider switching campaigns to work on fisheries issues, and honestly, it didn't interest me at all. I had, frankly, and I'd say this with all due respect, I thought it was frivolous because all I knew about the ocean work was save the whales, and I love whales, but I thought I can't wrap my head around this. I come from a background of working on social, environmental, economic justice issues, and I couldn't see it. And so I began to read some stories about fishing, and I began to see the same social, environmental, economic injustices. Once I began to see fishing at another fight against global movement of capital, which is what the fight for toxics really was. The incinerator is coming at a cost, and that cost is for the benefit of global movement of capital, and the people are in the way, and the water is in the way, and the air is in the way, and then I began to see that it's actually the same strategy. In fact, I started to recognize the same political strategy, but the companies that were involved in fishing than I saw in the toxics campaign. And suddenly it became another environmental justice issue for me. And I decided that I could wrap my head around this work.
That's the
so
New
that's
England
what brought
names.
me here. And the work with the fishermen, the more I dove in, no pun intended, the more I realized that there's a difference between people who fish and people who extract seafood. What we consider to be sustainability in a lot of ways is sovereignty to me, is self-sufficiency to me, is self-declaration, it's local control. And so all of those applied here. And I really became to appreciate the people who fish for a living and are happy with that, as opposed to the one who really don't want to stop till they make a killing. And so I spent a lot of my first few years fishing so that I could tell the difference between people who fish and people who extract, and what drives each. Is there a difference between the kind of gear they use, the kind of approach they have? And I came to realize it really didn't matter. No fishing gear is better than the other. Who is behind the wheel, the decisions they make, and the heart they bring or lack thereof really determines whether or not a particular gear is going to be used in a way that feeds people but doesn't do as much harm to the ocean.